I think we can all agree that if I were ever asked to run a gym, I would run a Poison-type gym with a Galarian Slowking as my signature Pokemon, but if I'm permitted to go avant-garde, I'd prefer to run a Glitch gym. Keep your naturally occurring and all that has purpose, and bring to me instead your mistakes, your aberrations, and your misfit toys. Pokemon Archetype. Since we're discussing a hypothetical species, we will not be assigning a motive. Its foremost complication will be its unusual appearance, ranging from being a distorted version of a Pokemon to being a straight-up messy mass of pixels, in which case incognito isn't exactly an option. This and/or type disadvantage. I recommend you see a few more of my Pokemon in Mutants and Masterminds before choosing this complication, especially if you're not familiar with Pokemon to begin with. Now, glitch Pokemon are the result of red, blue, and yellow trying to call on hexadecimal identifiers when there aren't Pokemon in there, so these games fudge a species of Pokemon. As a result, their stats are often as logical as their appearances, some of them even outmatching Arceus in terms of base stat total, and some being abysmally low, with one random stat matching a form of Deoxys, and that's where I got the inspiration for this. Normally, I leave awareness, intellect, and presence alone since we're dealing with a species, but here I'm making the assumption that these creatures spawn into existence the moment the player hits the wrong button or uses the wrong cheats, and therefore incapable of extensive knowledge beyond its few minutes of life. I sank Dexterity in fighting, because most glitch moves have extremely low accuracy, oftentimes in the single digits, and will for the one randomly absurd stat. Wouldn't it be troublesome if another player could control this beast? I wanted to take Will immunity entirely, except I'm reasonably sure an Alakazam can still hit it with confusion. I spent a great deal of time on Bulbapedia choosing glitch moves for our Eldritch Pocket Monster. HMO1 lowers a random stat with a glitched name, and there might not even be a stat lowered. Let's call that the ability to weaken a variety of stats, but we don't pick which ones. TM24 might paralyze, TM43 is Meowth's Payday, warped all to heck, super glitch with the hexadecimal identifier C0. If the damage hits, it'll raise evasion, only one stage at a time though. All well and fine, but now we're going to hit the big boy move, TMTRAINER, named after one of the few legible words that comes on screen when this effect comes into play. This was the difficult part of the whole thing. What generally happens is that the opponent's HP bar grows to the point it wraps around the screen, someone is frozen or poisoned or both, until the opponent is hurt by a burn that OHKOs it. I would put Nullify BGM too, but who besides me goes out of their way to add a battle theme to their character sheet? This move renders the overworld map glitchy and unstable as well, so we want everything in the general area to be affected by this. This was the only way I can think of, and that's just to reallocate all of the opponent's stamina into literally anything else and transform it into it but wounded. The problem with this approach is that a character with evasion can still potentially avoid it. The best I can do is improve the critical range. If TMTRAINER doesn't quite succeed, the GM should describe the game's code holding strong, because that's the only sort of world you can run a glitch Pokemon in, a game world, where it'll be possible for your glitch Pokemon to meet Monica, Cassie, and Vanellope von Schweetz. I suppose this build could also be used to make some error in reality in case someone didn't use their Infinity Gauntlet right, but theories aside, to randomize a health meter, you might add 20 stamina or protection and regeneration 20, with either unreliable or check required, to get an almost random amount of HP back. Really, it's tempting to rely on a homebrew power where your stamina on each turn is D20, regardless of any penalties from previous attacks, but can still be KO'd if the current stamina gets 4 degrees of failure on the opponent's roll. But such ideas are a discussion for another time.